Guys, it's about to go down.
Greetings and salutations, it's Alton from Ultimate RC here, and yeah, in front of me I've got the 5Ive-Te 3.0 right here. Put it next to my face. Yeah, that's how huge this thing is. It practically takes up, I would say, 4/5 of my tailgate on my truck. That's how big this thing is. And we're going to go ahead and get it unwrapped and set up. I'm going to bind it up to my IXSR radio. And then what I think we're going to do is we're going to go over to our hobby shop, Fast and Fun Toy and Hobby, and take it out for a first run with the guys there. Reason I'm going to go there is because Andy, the owner of Fast and Fun Toy and Hobby, he's been really good to me. And this particular car, this 5T that I got, according to him, is the last retail one available in the country right now until the next shipment gets in. So I literally got the last one available for retail sale of anybody until next month. Kind of cool. So anyway, let's pull the plastic wrap off and get into it. Look at the beauty of that. Of course, it's never going to look this good again, right? This clean anyway. So, all right, now let's try taking the cover off. So from what I understand, there's a couple of clips here, a couple of pins in the back, and I think there's a couple in the front too. Yep, right underneath, right there on each side of the front bumper. So we'll reach underneath here and get those. All right, then, I don't know if I'll be able to do this one-handed while holding the camera. There's a pull latch system on each side, and you can kind of see it here. Look through the net there. You can kind of see the spikes sticking up under my hand here. Let's see if I can yep, I can reach through the front window and touch it. So get in there with the camera if I can. All right. Looking down here. There we go. So there's these spikes here. These are part of the latch on the side of the body that hold the sides in. So I think I'm going to have to put the camera down and get both hands involved in this. Let's see what I can do. It's so big, I can hardly even grab my arms around the thing. All right, so there's one side. Now if I can keep that side up long enough to get the other side off, I end up pushing the other side down. Okay, let's try it this way. Maybe I gotta just turn the truck and am I missing something? Let me look. I don't think there's any other body clips that gotta come off. There's that side, okay. There's something on the back yet? All right, we're gonna check the back of the truck, see if it's got any more body clips on the back side, because I feel like something's holding it on yet back here. Well, how about me being like bested by this whole system here? And of course it being like so hard to reach around to get it up and off. Okay, so maybe if I try from the back, I'll just have to turn it slightly. Oh my gosh. I just have to get this up and off these things without pushing the other side down. There we go. Okay, one side at a time. All right, and now we get a look inside this massive tub. Let's take a look here. All right. There's the motor. Yeah, that is the size of a Coke can. Here's my fist next to it. Like, that's the size of that motor. When I saw this spur gear in here or sorry, center diff gear, I mean, and the size of the teeth and the size of the gear, that's literally, that is enormous. That's huge. Wow. See if I can get you a look inside the window. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Right here is where the teeth interface. See if I can get the camera to, you can kind of see it a little bit. But yeah, right there. Yeah, I want to say these are mod 1.5 gears, which I actually have mod 1.5 gears in my X-Max, and they're, you know, they're super tough, durable, obviously, but yeah, this thing is enormous. Gosh, look at the size of the diff cup even. There's my index finger. It's bigger than the width of my index finger for the diff cup. It's enormous. Wow. Okay. So here's our battery trays with the Velcro straps. There's that 1,000 ounce inch servo with the dual servo horn, so that it gets the most leverage turning left to right. That's really the nice way to go. I mean, that's the way to get the most mechanical advantage out of a servo, is to have the rotational force on both sides instead of just one side. I believe you get a little bit more leverage that way. I mean, I would imagine you do. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Okay. So I'm going to turn this though, because what we're going to do is we're going to get in that receiver box and we're going to power this thing on, and we're going to bind it to my IXSR. So let's go get the IXSR. All right, because I'm not going to take any chances with a car this big and this heavy, I went and grabbed some tires from my 6 scale crawlers. So these are the stock tires from an SCX6. These are Vertex 6 wheels with a J Concepts Tusk SCX6 size tire with an anti-foam in them. And we're going to prop this thing up on these tires so that the wheels are off the ground, and that way when we put the batteries in and bind it up, we don't accidentally risk if anything goes wrong, okay? Because it would suck, you know, even though it's not very likely to happen, it would suck if all of a sudden this thing like hits throttle for no reason and just tries to yeet that way. I mean, this thing would seriously do some damage, so all the precautions should always be taken with something especially this size, okay? All right, let's get to it.
This world is so cold and deceiving, filled with lies and disguises and cheating. I got just the right sugar to sweeten. Turn it all to the Garden of Eden.
All right, looks like 3 tires stacked up twice, so 6 tires total. Just got this thing up high enough, I feel like it's okay. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get out our screwdriver set to open up that receiver box. And because everything is bigger on these trucks, I even grabbed my 2.5 millimeter speed bit just in case this was a 2.5 millimeter screw and it just looked like it was smaller because of the scale. But nope, it's still a 2 millimeter on the receiver box here. So that's good. Or, you know, it is what it is. Looks like these are 3. Yeah. These screws in the middle on the chassis brace, 3 millimeter. All right. And there we've got our Spectrum radio that looks like the one with the gyro in it. So we should have our IXSR powered up. I hit the power button to turn it on. And I just got to swipe it to open it up. Does take a minute for everything to load on this thing. It's the one downside of the IXSR is turning it on takes a little bit. After that, it's fine. But okay, now here's what I'm not sure what I should do. Because this is the SR6200A, I need to see what vehicle that is, what other vehicle that's used in. Because reason I'm asking is that the IXSR has specific bind modes for the LMT 2.0, the Pro Moto, and then it has these SLT with DSC, and then it has standard model. Okay, so standard DSMR binding process followed immediately by AVC calibration. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to select standard model. All right, mapping's fine. Save settings. Now it's ready to begin binding. So now we're going to put our batteries in. And man, there are a lot of straps to strap these batteries in. I'll tell you what. So I feel like we're literally going to mummify this thing. make the batteries look like a mummy with all kinds of bandages on them. So we're going to get our straps opened up. And I've been told that you want to pull the ends out a little bit. Otherwise, they get very hard to reach in there and get around the batteries. So we're going to pull them out a little ways. Do the same on the other side. There we go. Just got to find the end. Our batteries that we're using today are the Gens Ace 6800 milliamp hour bashing series batteries. These are going to be fairly similar to the Spectrum batteries. They're 120C rating. Of course, you know, always take that with a grain of salt for every battery. But plenty of power, good milliamp hours. Should be about the same size and form factor as the batteries that Spectrum recommends for this truck. So we're going to start with the one over here. Get it nested into that little tray down there. Looks like it actually is smaller than the tray by a good margin. So, I mean, it won't go anywhere, but I should maybe see if there's something in the box that fills that in. All right, we have the manual and all the goodies that come with it. So, it comes with a ton of extra battery straps. That's kind of nice. Then, looks like these are blocks to fit different battery sizes. Yeah, because they've got the little threaded screw hole here on the front and the back, and then you can adjust the size of the battery tray by putting these in, I imagine. So let's start out with, looks like they got small, medium, and large, and then of course you could probably mix and match to fit your battery properly. I'm going to try to fit the battery on this side just because it's going to be easier for me to reach, so I'm going to nest this one in to that tray quick. I've seen some people where they actually take these straps. Oh, you know what? And I better, not that it maybe matters right now, but I better get in the habit of putting the battery terminal leads to the rear. Okay, let's see what size we need to get this to fit more snug. That medium size is pretty good, and I think a small size on the other side, that combination is going to do it from the looks of this. So if I get this out here, so here I'll show you on the camera the different sizes that they give you. So they give you a small shim for your batteries, a medium shim, and a large shim. And of course, you can put them on both sides so that you can really customize the fit. So if we put the small shim here, the medium shim on the back, and we'll put the small shim on the front. And for this battery, that is a perfect fit. It only has about maybe like a 1/16 of an inch of play between the two. That's going to be perfect. And then thankfully, they also do give you the screws to install to hold those battery shims in place. And it looks like they're probably going to be a 2.5 millimeter driver. So a good thing I brought my 2.5 millimeter speed bit out here. Yep, that's exactly what they are. All right, swap that out. Get that screwed in both sides for these batteries. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this battery strapped in. And there we go. Maybe move that strap over just a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Oh. Yeah. That is definitely a challenge if you let them fall back there. So just watch out for that. Not too bad, but just make sure you just pull these buckles on the Velcro straps out so that you can get them out easily. Otherwise, you will be struggling with getting the straps around the battery. So, but if you put plenty of slack on the buckle side, you should be fine. All right. And And then I am going to tuck my balance lead underneath this last strap just to keep it from flopping around. There's nothing it really should hit back here or be able to by how, short or long that lead is. Okay, now I'm going to get the other battery strapped in. And I'm going to put the shims in first on this one because I want to see, now that we get the shims in, how easy is it to put the battery with those shims in place for the correct battery size. Is that going to make it more difficult, less difficult? I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I think the most difficult thing is working around all of these straps that kind of mummify the battery into place. Leave me a comment and tell me if you think that it reminds you of, like a 80s cartoon with a mummy in it. I'm sure some people who are watching this will get what I'm talking about. Okay, what's interesting to me is that it's the same mass, a 6S battery, as we use in something like my Fireteam, Mojave, 6S, all those cars, right? But in those cars, they do it a little differently. You kind of get like this plastic shell that's on two, what do you want to call it? Like these two metal pins that can go up and down to sort of encapsulate the front of the battery in the housing where it needs to be held while the vehicle's in use. And then that holds the front, and then they give you two straps to go over the side like this and then over the front to back. So a little more minimalist on the amount of straps they have in that other design for the 6S vehicles versus this where they got 4 straps per battery. But you're really kind of putting the preparation. All right, we're going to get these spare straps back in the bag. Since we got the bag here, let's look and see what we get with it. So looks like we have a bag of tools. So we've got our nut driver for the wheel hexes, got a couple Allen keys, and is that a turnbuckle wrench perhaps? I bet you that's what that is. It's a plastic turnbuckle wrench. Oh, there's a turnbuckle wrench there. So what's the plastic one for? I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen that kind of tool in a bag like that before. All right, and our 2 large shims for the battery trays are going to get put back. Won't be using those. And now we can plug the batteries in and bind up our IXSR receiver once I seal up the bag with the manual and the spare parts. I know, I am doing something you absolutely should not do. Do not be like me. And what I'm going to mean by that is read your manual. You really, really should. So, all right. Let's get these plugs plugged in. Beauty about those bashing packs is they have the EC5 connectors, which is what's on here. And now we're going to power this baby on. I'm kind of excited, guys. All right. Let's see. We have our power switch. Well, where the heck did they put it? Oh, way up here. That's right. They put it up here so you can get at it easily. So we're going to turn it on, and while we're turning that on, we're going to hold our bind button down on the receiver. And our light's flashing. We're going to hit start binding. It's found it. All right. Our IXSR is saying analyzing packets and figuring out everything that this car can do and what it can detect and sense. So there it's got everything. Now, telemetry support detected. So I'm going to go back now that I have it here, and I'm going to go to AVC. I'm going to hit enabled, and I'm not exactly sure where to set that up. But since we have all 4 wheels off the ground, nothing touching, I am going to try a throttle. I gotta say, that sounds really smooth. Wow. Like, I mean, you hear the gear, you hear that spur and that pinion and the drive shafts, or the dog bones and the diff cups, moving and metal on metal sound, but the ramp up on it is super smooth. Okay. So yeah, we have AVC. I'm not sure what we're going to have to do to calibrate it. So we're going to have to figure that out. But for now, we've got that on. I'm going to leave that off for now so I can look up AVC calibration and make sure we get that proper, okay? So that's the next thing I'm going to look up here quick. All right, so before you begin, make sure your transmitter has the correct model selected and is set to factory defaults. Set the throttle limiter to 100%. Ensure all sub-trims are zeroed out. Power off. Ensure both your transmitter and vehicle are powered off. Place the vehicle on a level surface with the wheels off the ground. So we are not level here because one set of tires is thicker than the other. So we're going to have to probably use all 4 of the same tires and just go with 2 tires off the ground. So we'll go with these J Concepts Vertex 6 tires because they are thicker than the SCX 6, which will give us a better chance of keeping all 4 wheels off the ground. And before I even lower it, I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to just tilt it like this. Get the SCX 6 tires out of here. All right, put those 2 there, here. Okay, that looks like it's a pretty good spot. And are we off the ground? Yes, we are. We are still off the surface. Is this a perfectly level surface? It is not. Unfortunately, we are on a slant. So you know what? We're gonna change this up because I want to do it right. So I'm gonna set this thing on the concrete in my garage here. I'm not gonna necessarily shoot this part, but I'll tell you what happened. Okay, so that you kind of get an idea of what we're doing. So I'm gonna put this thing down here. Get it on the tires. There we go. All right, guys. So apparently the IXSR and like a DX5 Pro and other higher end Spectrum transmitters automatically calibrate AVC when it goes through that whole packet sensing process. And I noticed when I rebound the transmitter, the wheels gave a little shake. Nothing happened. But then after everything was on and ready, I just shook the car with the AVC turned all the way up to see if the front wheels did activate the gyro or the servo activated off the gyro in the receiver, and it did. So it appears for all intents and purposes that AVC is automatically calibrated. You don't have to do the manual calibration if you have a IXSR transmitter or some of the other higher end Spectrum transmitters. So that's kind of nice that it detects that and just takes care of it for you, as something advanced like that really should. The nice thing would be is if it gave you a dialog box on the transmitter screen saying AVC has been calibrated for you, no need to do it manually. Okay, so for those of us that are that pay attention to this kind of stuff and whatnot, that would just be a nice little touch to help let us know that, hey, you're not missing a step. One other thing too, in case Spectrum is watching this video, or Horizon, and they pick up that suggestion, which I feel like that would just be such an easy thing to code in, to bake into the code for confirmation that stuff like that is set up for you. If we could please get a cruise control mode for the IXSR programmed into that remote, that would be amazing. And it would be even more amazing if it was a cruise control that worked almost like a real car, where after you set it, you can press a toggle switch, like one of the ABC three position switches, to turn it up or down if you don't set it exactly right from the throttle and pressing the button to set it. So cruise control and confirmation dialog boxes telling you that, hey, you're not missing steps like setting up AVC when you connect to a receiver. All right, we have everything, as far as I can tell, ready to go for this thing's maiden run. All right, just for comparison, I decided to take a Traxxas Slash, one that I literally just finished building and painting and whatnot. I'm going to probably get a few more details with my company logo on it to throw on it. You'll see that in a second. You kind of see a little bit on the top, but I'll get a good view. But I just wanted you to see the size comparison between a Traxxas Slash and this thing. And there are other channels who have set the X-Max and the XRT next to this thing, which I do have both of those trucks. And maybe in this video later, I will get them out and set them next to this thing to see a size comparison of those. But even an X-Max, guys, this thing makes an X-Max look like it's small. I mean, it is that enormous. But yeah, look at this. A Traxxas Slash fits in between the wheels and about halfway back on it. Literally makes it look like a little mini me compared to this thing. And if we put the body on this thing right now,
I bet you'd see it even more. Let's take a look at that quick. Let's put the body on. Yeah, guys. Full-size Traxxas Slash practically sitting on the windshield and the roof of the Losi 5T 3.0. This thing is... I don't like saying this is a beast, this is a monster, because I feel like those words just get overused. And no hate on anybody that uses them, of course. It's just me, okay? But this thing is a beast. This thing is a monster. It is that big, all right? I think those words are appropriate for the Losi 5T 3.0. All right, let's get the fast and fun, and let's take this thing for a drive. All right, guys, and just for a little bit of humor, I decided to put it in my front seat. Actually, not quite humor, but some practicality, because I didn't want to just throw it in the bed of the truck, have it rolling around back there, getting tossed around while I'm driving. So I was thinking, do I put this thing in the back seat? You know what? I'll try putting it in the front seat and just see how much room it takes. And yeah, it's like the size of a small child, guys. So I have the seat all the way back too, and it's still kind of touching the dash a little bit, but hopefully that's not a problem.
I'm stopped at a stop sign, and I see here we have our first scar on our Losi 5T 3.0. This is a little bit of the roof sticker. Apparently, yeah, it did rub up against my dash and peel off right there. So, yep. Yeah, but no lie, that thing looks hilarious like that. When I see the truck sitting here next to me like that, coming out of the floorboard, if you will, I don't know why, it makes me think of that scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Danny DeVito is crawling through that black latex hole is coming out of a couch or something like that. It looks like a full-grown, Danny DeVito being born kind of a thing. So I don't know why, but just seeing it sitting there like that reminds me of it. All right, so a couple things about the 5T that are interesting that we'll talk about real quick. And some of the things that I didn't mention when looking through, and if you go back and look at the video, of course, it goes without saying that everything is scaled up huge on this thing. And if you've looked into this thing at all, you'll notice one of the other really huge things that are on here is the shocks. The shocks are literally the size of a shock bottle of oil, or a bottle of shock oil. Say that in the right order. So if you're going to fill the shocks or change the shock oil weight in this thing, buy 4 bottles. Most bottles are $8 to $10, so you're looking at $36 to $40 to change out your shock oil or rebleed your shocks. I'm not sure which shock oil comes in at stock, but you could look that up, of course, and then if you just wanted to make sure the shocks were topped off properly, then just look up what the stock oil is, buy 1 bottle, you should be fine. All right, pulling into the parking lot here at the hobby shop, and yeah, there are they're not dark rain clouds, but they are a little bit darker clouds kind of off on the horizon a little ways. So hoping those don't turn into rain clouds here so we can enjoy some driving for a little bit. So, all right, let's pull into a parking spot and get this going.
All right, here we are at Fast and Fun Toy and Hobby in Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin. We're gonna walk in, say hi to the guys, and then we're gonna come on out and get out the 5T.
We have the batteries in it, we have it on the ground. We're gonna take it for its first few steps. Let's just get one little throttle while I'm recording here. The first roll with the Losi 5T 3.0. All right, let's get some footage of it actually running now. Already did the first little roll, so here we go. We're gonna just go right off the curb, nice and smooth. Okay, I'm only hitting about a third throttle right now. So we're gonna do a nice half throttle run first on the way down. I'm gonna come back around. We gotta really watch for cars here, make sure. All right, full throttle. That back end, I want to make sure I give myself plenty of braking distance so I don't run into the curb, but that back end, wow, it just sinks down as this thing goes forward. Yeah, it's not, it doesn't look like it's going that fast, but it's supposed to be 50 miles an hour right there with how huge it is. Let's see what it's like handling wise. For the size it is, it turns pretty decent. All right, let's try coming around here. We'll see if we can get a little hop up off this curb. Oh yeah, just absorb the bump like it's nothing. Let's actually try to drive up the curb with it. It's like a crawler. I saw it just kind of slide on the chassis a little bit up the curb, but otherwise just went right up it. There we go. Probably didn't get that. I'll kind of drive back. I'll drive back up the curb and then actually I'll come up the ramp over here and we'll get a jump off one more time. Yeah, the gears are the loudest part. The motor is super smooth. All right, here we go. Man, it just absorbs the jump like nothing. And I know that's only maybe a 6-inch curb, but the fact that it's so smooth, and with the weight of this thing, it just moves pretty well for how big it is. But yeah, those mod 1.5 gears in this thing really really make some noise. Full throttle. There we go. Yep, make sure we hit on those brakes and slide out. Sorry, I didn't see you there coming up the sidewalk. She said that's okay. She saw me coming, so. Yeah, first drive's pretty good at this thing. I like it. Yeah, acceleration's really good on it. I mean, still brakes traction with the tires if you pull on the throttle hard. Do a pass from the back. Yeah, right. All right, we drove this thing around for a little while. Fast and Fun shot their video, and I'll be excited to see what they come up with. They have a gentleman that works here who I guess does a lot of video editing and content creation, stuff like that too. So I'm excited to see what he's going to come up with for this thing. But just took the battery packs out of it. They are a little warm to the touch, you know, as you would expect from driving this big behemoth. Interesting thing is, the motor can is definitely hot enough that you can't keep your fingers on it for 5 seconds, so it's probably getting warm. My remote, my IXSR, was actually giving me some notifications, I'm going to call them. Like, for example, the ESC got up to 17 some amps, which, I mean, I'm sure that this ESC is probably somewhere in the 200s for amp rating for what it can handle, but it gave me that notification, and then I want to say it did give me a temperature notification at one point, but nothing that was overheating. When I was taking the batteries out and my arm kind of just went into this little groove where the spur gear is in here on that center diff, it's hot to the touch, that spur gear. So definitely the friction and whatnot from just that spinning and probably coming off the motor, because you've got the heat coming off the motor, going into the drive shaft, going into the pinion, transferring to the spur. So, yeah, there's all that. I wonder, yeah, wow, even the diff cups. So the center diff on this thing, you know, funny thing is I heard that there is a center diff. I don't know exactly the issue, but you got to watch out for something with the center diff. And when I was driving it and I was doing a couple peeling around, like kind of, you know, just doing like a I don't know what you would call it. It wasn't a J turn, but essentially where you just kind of hit the brakes and whip the thing around. I did hear a little bit of like a screech, and most likely coming from one of the diffs, you know, just a little kind of sound. So, like I said, I've heard that there's a center diff thing that you got to watch out for on these, and somebody was asking how hard is it to get at and work on, which doesn't look like it'll be too difficult. Looks like you just got to undo about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 screws maybe, and maybe you don't even have to do that many. Maybe it's just these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the middle that you have to do. I don't know. We'll find out when we get there one of these days. But that center diff is right here. It doesn't look like it's too difficult to get at or get out if you need to do some work on it. But runtime, we got a lot of runtime on these battery packs, guys. You know, I've seen people with the Spectrum packs saying that they're getting about 30 minutes-ish or so. I don't know if that's, you know, doing fast, like full throttle pulls over and over and over and over again, or if that's just ripping around in some grass. But I feel like we've gotten about 40, at least 40 to minutes or more. I didn't time it or anything like that, but I've been here for over an hour and had the truck turned on for most of the time. Didn't run it for about probably 15 minutes. We were just inside chatting and talking, and then of course shooting the little video clips that we were going to do for Fast and Fun to use for a video for them. You know, we weren't running it the whole time, but it's been turned on for over an hour, and the only reason I stopped was I was noticing that it was starting to get a little bit slower, like not when it hits the low voltage cutoff where the you know, like a RC car will literally just be limping along. It wasn't that low yet, but I could tell that, you know, the voltage was probably starting to sag a little bit in the battery packs, and so I just decided to bring it in. I'll actually hook this battery up to my my Spectrum battery checker and see how much voltage we have left in these batteries. Let me go get that. All right, it's hard to see the screen because all the sun out right now and it's holding it close, so it might be blurry. But we're down to just under 3.7 volts. So we're at like 3.689, 3.681, 3.692. So just a hair under 3.7 volts per cell. So 3.7 volts is kind of like native charge for LiPos. And you can run them down to about 3.3 volts just fine. You're not hurting anything going down that low. Don't really want to go down too much lower than that. Once you get below 3 volts, that's where you start to risk damage to the cells or shorten the life of them. So, but 3.3 is fine. So if we're at 3.7 right now or just under, we probably would have had about another 20-30 minutes of runtime left on these things that we could have gone. But yeah, so if you're looking at batteries, I gotta go with the Gens Ace. They really, these things really do last a long time for me on a single charge, and that's not with timid driving either. I mean, it's controlled driving. I'm not like just all out full throttle the whole time, obviously, as you shouldn't be, but I'm definitely ripping around and getting up to full throttle on straights and stuff like that too. So definitely recommend these. I haven't tried a set of Spectrum batteries in a 4S pack like this yet, or in a similar size, to really give a comparison. And if I do get a set, you know, we'll throw them in here and see how they do. But from my experience, these Gens Ace batteries, man, they really are good products. So you just got to take care of them. I see some people where they say that, and even with this battery pack here, where they say it starts puffing. Well, yeah, if you don't put your batteries back in storage charge when you're done using them, and you just let them sit either, you know, close to full charge or close to like danger zone, they're not going to last as long. You want to keep them at that 3.8 volts so that they're stable when you're not using them, and they're going to last a long time. And I've had these batteries, I want to say these 6S batteries I probably had for about a year or two at least. I think closer to 2 years now, and they're great. Still showing low milliohms on resistance, so still able to dump out a lot of power. You just got to do your part and take care of the batteries, because these things are designed, or I guess the thought behind these hobby batteries is that we are the safety measures on them. We're the ones that are supposed to maintain the batteries and make sure that they are being cared for properly. Unlike the battery in your phone or, you know, in your smartwatch or something like that, where it's got a bunch of safeguards built in to protect it. So anyway, that's my rant about batteries. Anyway, what do we think about the Losi 5T here so far? Well, so far, the first run was absolutely beautiful. This thing drives really, really well for how big it is. It doesn't feel like you're throwing around something this big. The steering is very nicely dialed. The servo, I'm really, really surprised with. Again, most RTR servos, you're throwing them out and replacing them pretty quickly, but Spectrum actually, you know, did this one adequately for this vehicle. It's plenty powerful, turns the vehicle, you know, no issues there. It's fast. So yeah, I feel like they really did put the good sauce in this servo. So happy with that. Again, just the way the suspension was running out of the box, everything was smooth. I ran it off the curbs a couple times. It was just buttery smooth coming off the curbs. Again, not a very big jump for the scale of a vehicle, but still no bouncing whatsoever. Just absorbed the shock and kept going. Like, to give it a comparison, if I had to say it drives most like something else, I would say it drives most like either a Mojave 6S or a Traxxas UDR. The suspension in it is driving that good, soaking up that many bumps. Like, just the way it takes off and accelerates, where you get that rear squat with a short course truck, very, very much like that. So very nicely drivable, controllable. It seems to have just the right amount of understeer oversteer ratio with how it's set up too. It's not oversteering to where like you're flipping yourself over if you turn too hard, but if you control your brake as you're going into a turn, you can get it to turn a little more sharply. So I find that setup's pretty forgiving, pretty nice. I didn't roll this thing once, and I tried to take some pretty hard turns just to see if it would even tip up. It just stayed planted. Now, that's not to say that you can't flip it over. I'm sure if under the right conditions and if you're trying hard enough, you will. But you really have to be either extremely ignorant in driving or extremely reckless to do so. While I was driving it, I did not hit a full curb, but hit like a ramp up curb with it one time with just one of the front wheels. Just absorbed it and kept on going. It wasn't a hard hit, it was just like maybe an inch or two, nothing that these huge tires couldn't just roll over with ease. So overall, this is going to be a really fun truck, guys. This is going to be such a cool thing to drive. I hope there's some other people in my area that end up getting one so we can go out together as a group, because it's always more fun when you can do that. Or if there's just anybody here in Northeast Wisconsin that has any fifth scale trucks like this, whether it be gas powered or electric like this, please hit me up, leave a comment. If you leave me a comment and maybe like just send me a message. I don't know if there's a way to send me a message through my channel that it isn't public, but even if you leave a link to like maybe your social media profile where I can look you up and we can try to get in touch that way, it'd be great to get out in a group with something with trucks of this scale and size. So awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much. If you haven't done so already, please give this video a like. Please click the subscribe button, because of course, it helps the channel grow, and the more the channel grows, well, the more I want to focus on it and make videos. And again, leave me a comment telling me what you think of the Losi 5TE and if you'd like to get one yourself. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time on Ultimate RC.